More on that hearing in a moment, but first to the Equifax showdown. Joining me now is Oregon Congressman Greg Walden, chairman of the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Congressman, thanks for joining us. It was an intense moment, and a moment I think many Americans who watched were cheering because you guys brought the heat. But the question now is what happens. And before you even answer that, just moments ago, the IRS awarded Equifax a $7 million contract to verify ID and prevent fraud. I mean, so on one hand, you're grilling the heck out of these guys. On the other hand, you're giving them millions.
I didn't know what to say when I read that. I was walking back over here when the news came out. First, we knew about it. And not only that, it was a sole source contract, no competition for it, which I always think has to hit a pretty high bar in the government to get a sole source contract. And especially given what the IRS should have known had happened at Equifax, given the unanswered questions about their own data security and the enormous breach that's affected consumers. I don't, for the life of me, understand why they proceeded with that contract at this time, and we intend to ask the IRS now. Why did you think that made sense? You know, I give Mr. Smith credit. He took blame personally and corporately for what went wrong. I appreciate that. But holy smokes, when you dig into this, as we did today, and that's our first mission, is to get to the facts, you find out it was a human error. There was one person, apparently, who forgot to tell somebody that they had a piece of software that needed to be patched. How do you have a company that's as global and important in our everyday lives as Equifax rely on one person to make the right decision at the right time, or else everybody's records are at risk of being exposed?
Yes,
and that's what happened.
But with all due respect, perhaps it started out as a comedy of errors, but it was compounded, it feels like, at least from the public's point of view, by attempts to cover up, perhaps, or not be so forthright or honest with their customers or the American public. And I think that's where people are concerned, is when these things are happening, no one's alerting us.
You're right about that. And beyond that, they tweeted out the wrong address for the website for consumers to go to, not once, not twice, but 3 times, sent consumers to the wrong URL. And there's a big question about the website they set up and whether it was actually at risk as well. You know, at some point, how do you trust these people to give them the new data to protect your old data from further destruction? And so these are the questions we are trying to get to the bottom of, and we intend to hold Equifax and other companies accountable. And if we need to change federal law, we will. But as I said at the hearing, in some cases, you can't fix stupid.
We just have breaking news coming right now that your colleagues in the Senate Commerce Committee are calling Yahoo and Equifax. Of course, the Yahoo breach is
$3 billion now.
Right. So it's everyone, just every single person that's ever typed in yahoo.com in their computer or laptop or phone. So you say if you have to change the laws. We've heard this before. It sounds promising. How realistic is this? Because this is becoming issue number one for Americans. Our identity is sacred, and we don't have control of them.
Well, as you know, former chairman of the committee, Joe Barton, talked about that today in his part in this, about maybe there needs to be a different fee structure, fine structure. And Joe and I talked a little bit, and I said, you know, what I don't want to see is the government pocketing all the money is in the consumers being left behind once again. We need to put the consumer first in whatever we do to protect their data and to make sure that they're compensated. And so that's what we're going to look at. But the long and the short of it is we have all kinds of laws on the books today.
Well, I love the idea of rewarding consumers. We saw where banks were paid hundreds of billions of dollars to the Obama administration, but that did nothing for consumers who were ripped off by them. Congressman Walden, thank you very much. Really appreciate it.